Ladies and gentlemen, my guest at this time is a former East Bay Pro Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, Mr. Ego, the Machine, Tony Vargas. Tony, how you doing today, brother?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Just chilling. It's a nice day in the Bay Area. Nice and cool, just the way I like it.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely nice out here right now.
Absolutely. So, you're doing this in your work truck. What are you? What's the shoot job?
I'm a manager for an HVAC company, so I do air conditioning and heating.
That's what's up, dude. Is that get pretty stressful at times?
Yeah. I mean, you get your clients who are, feel obligated to get extra for less. But all in all, I love what I do. I've been doing it for 15 years now. So I even did it when I was playing pro football. Played pro football in the season, and then the off season I would do HVAC. So I just love it. Something about it.
Absolutely, man. We're gonna get into the football career, but I guess growing up, so did you always love professional wrestling, or was it like you were playing pro sports and you were like, I'll give this a try, like others do, like a Bill Goldberg, so to speak?
No, I've loved pro wrestling from day one. I mean, I remember my very first, action figure, if you would, was a LJN Junkyard Dog. I opened that up and I thought hands down it was the coolest figure ever. Watching wrestling with my grandfather and my dad. No, definitely, I was always a fan of pro wrestling.
Absolutely, man. So, Junkyard Dog, could we say the favorite of yours, our childhood favorite, and then as you got older, you grew an appreciation for like a Sean or a Brett or an Owen.
Oh, absolutely. Growing up, it was Junkyard Dog, Arn Anderson. Those were like my two favorites growing up. And then, yeah, as I got a little older, the Bret Harts and, the British Bulldog, all those guys at that time. Like, I love Doink. Doink I felt was underrated.
Are we talking Matt Bourne Doink, right?
Yes. Original. Okay. Yes,
okay.
Yes, of course. Something about that sadistic character he had. It was on point. Like, I liked it.
He was he was Heath Ledger Joker before Heath Ledger.
Exactly. Yeah.
There we go, man. So you had a pro football career. You went to Hayward High. So what position did you play?
I was a quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah. I played quarterback all the way. I want to say until like my second year of pro.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. So a mutual friend of ours wanted me to tell you, go Monarchs.
Oh, that's fine. We usually beat them.
No, it's Justin Sturholm.
I do know Justin. I played football with him as well.
Justin's a great guy. He coached me when I wrestled for Mount Eden, and now I coach with him now. So he wanted to get his 15 minutes of fame.
Hey, he got it. Give him the Barry Horowitz pat on his own back.
Oh man. So did you play all 4 years of high school?
Yeah, I played all 4 years. Varsity as a sophomore. Played the sophomore junior year as on varsity as a quarterback. But if you would have asked me seriously, I would have bet my life on it. I was a tight end. I was like, I'm a tight end. I was a tight end. Like, I always had good hands. Like, I can catch, but I wasn't blessed with speed. So, so that's kind of how I became a quarterback.
Absolutely, man. So, when you're going to high school, is it attitude era, like the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, after football practice, are you rushing home to watch Austin beat up McMahon and see what's going on with the NWO?
Yes. So I wasn't really too big into WWF or E at the time. Like, I love WCW. So what we would do is, like, me and my dad, that was our time. So we would record WWF, but we would watch, WCW. And then once that was over, we would kind of fast forward to the matches we wanted to watch or the segments we wanted to watch. And so we kind of flipped back and forth, but yeah, definitely I was a WCW guy.
Wow, not many people are for that time period. I was born in '96. I'm alive when it's happening, but I'm not watching.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us about that time period? And we kind of have it now with NXT and AEW on Wednesdays, but they're streaming and everything, so everybody's going to get their numbers. What was that like? You have to watch it live.
Yeah, so WCW was live. And then obviously WWF at the time was pre-recorded. So it was tough, especially like if you missed the recording, you missed out. You don't get to, like, nowadays, the kids nowadays can go on YouTube and the streaming networks. And if you miss, let's say, Monday Night Raw, you'll be on the network the following week. So we didn't have that. So if we missed it, we missed it. So for me, it was, I had to watch WCW. If I missed WWF, it didn't bother me. I wasn't like, oh man, I missed it. I didn't get to see it. It was just, but yeah, my thing was WCW. Had to watch it no matter what. I had to be there, practice or not. I went home and watched it.
Awesome, man. So, what are you, a traditional NWO, or are you Wolfpack?
Traditional,
Okay.
definitely traditional. The Wolfpack to me, I mean, red's my favorite color, but it's not the same. I think they just try to. Obviously, it was hot, so it's like, okay, let's get Wolfpack, let's do this. But at that time, I mean, it was fading out and it was hot white. It just, I don't know, just did nothing for me. The Wolfpack, to be honest with you,
I
the
mean,
song
great.
was cool.
Yeah, great theme song. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So getting back to the football, you graduate from Hayward High. Do you go straight into arena football right out of high school, or you going to college?
Yeah, I had a full ride academic and athletic scholarship to the University of Michigan. So when I was there, kind of didn't work out. Um, Tweaked my throwing arm. So at the time, they took my scholarship and they were going to give me like a partial, but my parents couldn't afford, a D1 university. So I was just like, kind of bummed out. So I actually came back and played semi-pro with, Justin, of course. And then it was actually, we had a practice and it was getting canceled. And some guy was driving by and he pulls up and he was just like, hey, do you play football? And I was like, yeah, a little bit. And he was like, hey, can I get your email address and this and that? And I was just like, okay. So in my head, I'm like, the worst that can happen is some creep. He sends me some random photos or something weird. Turns out at the time he was the offensive coordinator for the San Jose SaberCats. So I was like, oh, okay. So now at this point, I responded back and they had a tryout. Um, did that tryout, made the team, but they were like, hey, we got you, but unfortunately, we're trading you. So then I got traded to the Arizona Rattlers. So it was kind of like the luck of the draw, playing catch in the park, waiting for practice. But at the time, it got canceled. So, I happened to stay because at the time, the practice was in, I think, Oakland or something. And I was like, I already drove out here. A couple of the guys are here. So I was just throwing them routes and, hey, talk about right place, right time, I guess.
Absolutely, man. So, I assume you have to move to Arizona. So, what's it like playing for the Arizona Rattlers? Do you finally become a tight end? Do you get to live the dream?
No. That was a hard pass. They laughed at me when I said that. They were like, well, you're going to be a blocking tight end. So, um, so yeah, so basically in Arizona, it's cool. It's different. I mean, I had to get used to the summer, 120 degrees and stuff like that. It was definitely super hot. But my thing is I started off as a quarterback, but then I started hitting the weight room a little more, and I played rugby, all through high school and a little bit of junior high. So going heads up never really phased me. So when I'm scrambling, I'm going heads up with the linebackers and the defensive ends, and 8 out of 10 times, I'm winning. So finally, my second year, my coach was like, "Hey, we're converting you to linebacker." He's like, "We got someone who just plays quarterback, and we can tell you're enjoying." So I was like, "All right, cool." So that's when I started converting to outside linebacker, middle linebacker, and honestly, I haven't looked back since.
That's awesome, man. So, I mean, you're playing semi-pro, and then what happened to where you transition into MMA, becoming a fighter?
So becoming a fighter, honestly, 100% accident. 100%. I never got into a street fight. I mean, you got in the verbal altercations and a shove here and there, but like never got into a fight. And Stone Ridge Mall, I was actually working mall security, and my boss at the time was an amateur fighter. And he's like, "Hey, you wrestled in high school, right?" And I go, "Yeah, I wrestled in high school." And he goes, "The guy I'm fighting's a purebred wrestler. Do you mind helping me train for this guy?" Like, yeah, why not? And so fast forward, now I'm helping him train. Well, he gets hurt in training, and So I was like, man, all that hard work for nothing, you know? And he was just like, he's like, no, I talked to the promoter because it's amateur. He goes, you're the same weight as me. So you're going to be the filling guy for me. So you're going to represent this gym. And before I can be like, hell no, man, I've never been to a fight. Like, you know, there's a couple of girls in the class. And then all of a sudden, you know, the vets that were in there, they kind of looked at me and I was like, yeah, we're doing this. Yeah. And in my head, I was like, oh man, what am I getting myself into? Like, I've watched UFC 1 and 2. Like, it's crazy. So I took the fight and fast forward to it 23 seconds later, my hand's getting raised, first round knockout. Um, I'm man enough to admit it was a fluke. I panicked. He went to shoot on me. I threw my knee up, hit him in the temple, knocked him out. And I was like, you know, I had to play it off like I meant to do it. So I was like, you know, But that was how I became an MMA fighter. I was hooked ever since. So I started doing the, you know, bare knuckle Muay Thai, kickboxing tournaments, MMA, Valley Tudo, jiu-jitsu tournaments. And from that point on, I was just like, because again, you don't know if you're a good fighter or not until you're tested. Um, Turned out I was pretty good. Never knew.
Wow, that's what's up. So going back to the wrestling, so I didn't know you wrestled for Hayward. What's the weight class and what's the go-to move?
I wrestled 160 my first year, and then my second year we had a guy who was pure 160, and then I was weighing at 155 my senior year, but they made me a heavyweight because most schools didn't. Yeah, it made no sense, but it was fun. I mean, I won a lot of matches because some of the guys got tired pretty quick. So, um, but yeah, I didn't really have a go-to move. Like I loved the single and double leg, um, and then I mean, honestly, I filled it out. Just whatever was there, whatever opportunity I got to get, I just took advantage of whatever they would give me. Um, the cradle pin was probably my go-to, just because when you have someone, they like to scramble a lot, and then when you put your head into a rib and they go like that, and you just roll them up, you got the nice little easy pin. So it's pretty cool.
That's what's up. You and Justin ever have a match against each other?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, he
Okay,
would have lost that, but no
I mean,
biggie.
hey man, I've been on the receiving end of his cross-face cradle. It's no joke. It is no
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a very underrated athlete. You look at him, you won't think much, and then you see what he does, and you're like, wow, okay, was not expecting that.
But getting back to the pro MMA fight career, so you get roped into it, you accidentally win, and then so what around what year is this? Like oh 04, oh 05? What?
Yeah, around 04, 05 ish, give or take.
So how much longer is the pro fight career, and how many fights did you have total?
So in total, like with amateur and pro, I think I had 9 or 11 total. Um, Went undefeated. I got lucky, and then I don't know why, but I stopped doing the MMA and I started doing the kickboxing because kickboxing it was like you can fight Friday and Saturday, heal on Sunday, and then go back the following week and fight Friday and Saturday. With the MMA, it was like there was more regulations. It's like, oh, you have to wait this X amount of time, and then so like for me, I was like, no, like the high was there. Like I had to fight. It got to the point where I was carrying a mouthpiece in my pocket. So yeah, I got lucky. MMA, I went 9-0. You know, seven knockouts, 2 submissions. Muay Thai I did pretty good. Muay Thai kickboxing, I was like 21-1. That one loss, hey, he got me good. Kicked me right in the kidney. I couldn't move. Like my body locked up. I was like, I don't know what to do. Should I fall? Should I cry? It was great. It was
Oh,
great.
oh Jesus. Oh my God. I can't even imagine that.
I was to this day I cannot describe it because like my body went into shock. Like he got me so hard that sounded weird. He kicked me so hard in the kidney that like my body just froze. Like I didn't collapse. I just kneeled over, and the ref was like, "You good?" And I was like, "I don't know what to do right now. Like I'm in pain, but I don't know how to like. I don't. Can I fall? I don't know." Yeah, much respect. That guy. It hurt.
So I mean, with the kickboxing and the MMA, I mean, you're fighting, and there's like people watching. There's a live crowd element, and we're people chanting, "Let's go, Tony!" Yeah, and that's how you kind of got the bug to perform in front of a live crowd, which then transitions into pro wrestling.
um, no, I think for me, like, don't I? I love. my time in football. I loved my time in MMA. I think for me, I've always wanted to be a pro wrestler. Like I've always wanted to do it. But for me at the time, I always thought there was only schools back in the East Coast or the Midwest. And I couldn't just up and leave because I had a career per se, you know. Um, but yeah, in front of the live crowds, I mean, it's the adrenaline rush. It's something else. Like, especially like with pro wrestling, I don't know, man. It's a different feeling. Like for me, like I said, playing in front of thousands in football, the crowd cheering, you're like, cool. You're like, yeah, MMA, same concept. You get that buzz. But for me, it was always the pro wrestling, the persona of these larger than life superheroes. And I'm not gonna lie, for the longest time, I thought it was like 100% legit. um, and then, yeah, I mean, I knew I was gonna be a pro wrestler. I just didn't know when. Long story short.
Absolutely, man. So you start training at Big Time Wrestling in Fremont. So describe the first bump. I mean, it's a different. I did a day of training at APW once, and
Yeah.
I took a bump. So it feels like you get hit by a truck. Does it feel worse than when you get hit in the kidney?
Um, this is gonna sound really weird. I wasn't getting sore. It didn't hurt me. I guess I was used from like football and the rolls and stuff. The practices was kind of similar to jujitsu, because you're taught to slam on the back and slap the mat in jujitsu and stuff like that. Because you're getting dipped, and so I got lucky. Victor Sterling started the same time I did, so it was kind of like a little competition amongst one another, like who's going to make their debut first. And he's coming at the time straight out of high school, collegiate wrestler and so on and so forth. And I started when I was 27 years old. So, I'm a 27-year-old guy who's competing with an 18-year-old kid. Um, so we both picked up relatively easy. The bumps, yeah, it was weird. Like I wasn't getting sore. Um, but I mean, I rattled my head a couple times, when you bump and you get that whiplash. But yeah, it was weird. Like the bumps didn't hurt or I wasn't sore. Um, yeah, I guess my body was just used to trauma.
No lacerations from running the ropes because it looked like somebody beat me when I was running those things.
Oh no, I mean, I got the bruises and stuff from the ropes because again, you don't know how to run ropes, and then people don't realize there's two types of ropes. There's the cable, and then there's the actual rope. So when you're brushing up against that and it's rubbing you, it hurts. Yeah, no, I had bruises definitely when I first learned how to do the ropes.
Absolutely, man. So you're a month into your training, and your trainer's like, "Hey, you're gonna have a match like coming up like this Friday or whatever," and it happens to be against the Young Bucks.
Yeah, so it was crazy. Yeah, we were training, and again, Tony Vargas, the name, he comes up to us and he was like, "Hey, you guys gonna make your debut?" We're like, "Oh, cool. When?" He's like, "This week. The show's on Friday or Saturday." And I was like, "Oh man, all right, cool." And he's like, "What's your guys' name?" And I was just like, "I don't know. I just wanted to learn the moves." So myself and Victor Sterling, we picked up pretty quick. And again, I think it was that friendly competition we had with each other that kind of gave it that. And then yeah, sure stuff. It was the young but or generation me at the time. And honestly, it's crazy because like when I first got in there, I'm thinking like, oh man, these vets are gonna be stiff and this and that and super light. Like it was crazy. Like it was just surreal to me just to even step foot in the ring, like for that day, I mean, I was on such a high, you couldn't tell me otherwise. Like I got chopped so hard in the battle royal, like my chest was purple and red and nothing can phase me that day. That day I was like, you know what? I finally did it. I finally stepped foot in a pro wrestling ring. And to me, I didn't really consider myself a pro wrestler even that day. I mean, even when we walked in the back, they were like, "Hey, welcome to wrestling." And I was just like, "Nah, no, not yet, not yet, not yet. But this is the baby step." So,
Absolutely, man. So you're a month in, you're having a match against the Young Bucks, and I mean, you don't even have gear, you don't even have a name at this point. What did you
no.
scrounge up together to you put on the old football gear, the MMA gear?
So, oddly enough, I did freestyle wrestling and I had a red and black singlet. And I was like, I mean, I don't know what my gimmick's going to be. I don't know anything. So I was just like, well, let me just throw this on. And luckily for me, Devin Danger had a pair of red and black boots. And he was like, here, just wear these. It matches your gear. So luckily for me, I came out at least matching. But yeah, even my name, Tony Vargas, like, I didn't know. I was just like Tony, because obviously that's my name. And then Fernando Vargas, I think, was fighting that day, or something happened with him. And I was like, Vargas? And even my coach was just like, are you serious? He's like, don't worry, no one's gonna remember that name anyways. And I was like, all right, cool. So I can come up with a game and a gimmick. Well, here we are 10 years later going by Tony Vargas.
Hey man, it sticks. It sticks.
Yeah.
That's what's up. So I mean, your career progresses along, and then I mean, eventually you form a faction with the Bike Club. Now they've been on this show, and they have bitten me in the face. So I
Yes.
mean, how far along are you into your career before you link up with Sims and Danger and Popcorn Mike?
Probably about 7 years into my career. Um, that we linked up because again, it all started off as the love of wrestling, of course, and then I knew Carlos or Devin Danger um, through training. We trained together at Big Time Wrestling, so that's how I knew him. And then Sean Sims is I met him at East Bay, and then right off the bat, when you just click with somebody, that's how me and Sean were. And then obviously they became a tag team, and next thing you know, Bike Club started, and we haven't looked back since. And honestly, I always tell everybody, it's like, I mean, they'll say it too. It's like, well, it's not a faction. Honestly, it's a brotherhood. Like, we got each other's backs inside, outside the ring. It doesn't matter. It's just, yeah, I consider those guys my brothers.
Absolutely, man. Now, when I had them on the show, you weren't wrestling because you had fractured your neck. What match was that, and what move was it?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Because at the time I was still doing football, I was still doing MMA, and I was still doing pro wrestling. Um, yeah, I couldn't tell you or pinpoint exactly when it happened. Because even for me, it probably happened years before, and I just kept going because the way I play football, especially at linebacker, is it's me or you, and it ain't gonna be me. Like, I'm trying to end your career, not mine. You're making my highlight reel. So, I had a couple big hits and stuff, and then at the end of the games, my arms would go numb and my legs would go numb. But again, I thought it was just the way I played football. And then wrestling too. Like, I like to get a little crazy. So, taking crazy bumps and crazy shots that, again, my hands would go numb, my legs would go numb. And then, even fighting and training. But I just thought nothing of it. What happened is I was actually watching a documentary. There was this guy who played for the New Orleans Saints, and he started describing everything that was happening to me, and I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, that's what's happening to me. I forgot what disease he had, but basically your lifespan is like 5 to 10 years. And I was like, oh man, this is not good. So went and got checked. Doctors, the blood work and all that, and came out negative. They're like, you don't, again, I forgot what the name of that disease was. They're like, you don't have it. And I was like, something's wrong. Like, I'm sitting on the floor playing with my kids and my legs are going numb. Like, something's wrong. So I ended up doing an MRI, and they found out I had a slight fracture in my spine. And then my lower lumbar, the L3, 4, 5, were just completely inflamed. So the fracture, what happened was this little piece of bone that was rubbing on my nerve. And that's why, like, I kept getting numb and stuff. And, they just told me, like, keep doing what you're doing or you're going to end up paralyzed. So had to make that decision to kind of walk away. And it sucked because, like, for me, my whole life since I was 12, it was contact, whether it's football, rugby, baseball, wrestling, jujitsu, fighting, for them to say I can't do any of that, it sucked. I ain't gonna lie. I shut down from the world for about 14 months. My social media was gone, changed my phone number. Like, I talked to a selected few people, and it was literally here and there. And I didn't want to be reminded of wrestling or football or any of that. So it sucked.
No, yeah, man. I mean, when something you love is taken away from you, like Edge is probably the perfect example. He loved the business too, and then it was taken away from him, and then you kind of like, all right, well, I can't do this anymore because I'm medically disqualified. What do I do now?
Yeah. That was it. Like everyone's like, well, coach. I was like, well, I don't want to be around it. I didn't want to be around pro wrestling. I didn't want to be around football because I know how I am. I'm stubborn. I'll be like, I can still do it. I can still do it. I can still do it. Um, but yeah, I mean, that was the thing. I was like, oh, I guess I'll just stick to my shoot job and just continue doing that. But then the itch came. The
So,
itch.
what year is it that you step away? Like,
If I remember correctly, I think it's 2016.
okay, I think I saw you at a Big Time Wrestling Under the Stars. Where you were on that card, right?
I
I want
believe
to I want to
so.
say so. I think yeah, I think you were the U.S. champion at the time. Yeah,
Under the Star. Is that the one that was outside? I don't
yeah,
remember the names. Okay,
yeah.
if there was one outside, yeah, I wrestled Victor Sterling for the United States title in that street fight.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
That
yes,
was badass. I remember that.
yeah.
So, but then eventually you come back. What you come back? What 2019, 18?
The end of 2018.
Okay. So what changed in your prognosis, man?
I started doing like shock therapy and I just started doing some rehab because like for me, I was like, I'm not going out like this. I'm not. I'm going out my way. If I'm gonna retire, it's gonna be my way, my terms. And basically, long story short, it started getting better. The numbness went away. They did this little laser thing right in the spine and kind of took that little bone chip out, and it just started progressively getting better. I couldn't like really exercise or run, but whatever I could do, I was doing it. And funny enough, Sean Sims was wrestling Manny for brief. I only know him as Mansoor now. um, but we were joking, and I was like, "Oh, let's do a triple threat if I get cleared." Well, that joke turned into, "Okay, if you're cleared, you're in the triple threat." And I was like, "Oh, all right." So I went to my doctor for the final checkup, and he's like, "Yeah, you're cleared. Just be smart about it, and this, and this." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I hit Sims up, and I was like, "Hey, I got cleared." And he goes, "Oh, cool, that's great." 20 minutes later, he goes, "All right, I'll see you Saturday. You're in the triple threat." So yeah, it was kind of cool. East Bay was pretty cool about keeping it a hush hush, and walking through that curtain again. It was crazy. I thought everyone forgot who I was, and the pop I got when I came out it's good, man. I don't know. I don't take any of it for granted. It was good.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, because before, like, you have to walk away. You're on fire. You're the BTW United States champion. You're the East Bay Pro Heavyweight champion. Like, you're making your name in the Bay Area. I mean, you're wrestling for all
Yeah.
these different promotions, and then it's just taken away from you like that. I mean, I can't even imagine that.
It was rough because I finally started getting some respect, because I don't know why I got this image people think of me, the people who never met me or whatnot. Um, so it was just like, oh, Tony, oh, okay, okay. Certain indie superstars didn't like me because I didn't shake their hand. And the reason I didn't shake their hand because they're on their social media talking crap. So I earned this rep of, I guess, having an ego, um, which was funny to me because anyone who's ever worked me is just like, all right, dude, just do whatever you want to me. um, but yeah, it just sucked because like I started getting calls from out of state, just calls all over. And I was like, yes. So I started booking. I was going to go to Puerto Rico and wrestle. Like I was going, and then just boom, stopped all like that. And it sucked because, again, I was finally finding my groove, finally finding who I was as Tony Vargas. You know, Other promotions are finally not listening to people who don't like me, and they're like, no, we're going to use you and this and that. And, um, it sucked. I was finally getting to that spot where I was like, cool, I'm climbing that mountain, and then got booted right off Spartan style.
Yeah, so speaking of Spartan, you did the Spartan race
Yeah.
and a torn ACL and two tears in your meniscus. Now, Spartan race, I think the easiest thing to equate it to is what, like American Ninja Warrior, kind of,
Yeah.
sort of, kind of,
Yeah,
sort of.
a little bit.
How, how was that even humanly possible, bro?
It's funny. Like, I don't know. I have no answer. Like, Apparently, I was playing full football seasons and wrestling and whatnot with a complete tear in my ACL. And like for me, when my doctor told me my knees completely tore, I laughed because like every person I've ever known who tore their ACL are sports athletes or wrestlers, and anyone who tears their ACL, they're done. Like they're out of commission for a year, year and a half, and they're rehabbing. But yet I didn't break a stride, but my knee was completely tore.
That's that
um,
that's unbelievable.
yeah, I mean, honestly, to this day, I still haven't had. My doctor's like, well, you don't need the surgery because it's not bothering you. And yeah, I mean, right now, I legit have a complete torn ACL. But
Oh my goodness.
yeah, but yeah, I did the Spartan race with it, and um, didn't train for it or nothing. Just went straight into it, and finished in my age bracket at the time. I think I finished seventh out of like 300 and something people, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's one for me. I can just say cardio and endurance and something I've always had, even as a bigger guy. Like I put on some weight, obviously, since I debuted and from fighting. And to this day, I joke around with all these guys who say, "Oh, you got to look like a wrestler. You got to do this and blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, look, dude, I look the way I look. I can beat you up in real life. I can outrun you, and I got better cardio. So I don't know. I just always been good with just the cardio and the endurance. So never really phased me.
There we go, man. I mean, I'm a bigger guy, you know. Thank you for doing it for us, man.
I got to rip it. Hey, thank Thor. He gave us hope.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you returned to wrestling in 2018. 2019 was probably the hottest year for indies, specifically in NorCal, the Bay Area. APW is on fire.
Oh yeah.
West Coast Pro, they're on the come up. You know, BTW was doing some good stuff. Hood Slam's on fire. East Bay Pro. And then, we get to 2020, the pandemic shuts everything down. What's that been like for you, man?
Rough. I mean, just like for anybody. Like for me, 2019 was like my first full year, and I'll be honest with you, I was not happy with it. Like for me, I felt underappreciated for everything I'd done for BTW. Not done for them, but like everything I've done, the loyalty, the to all this, and I was just getting like these underwhelming matches, and I'm seeing guys from not BTW get these big top matches. And again, I guess you can say it was bittersweet for me because I understood why, because I just came back from a broken neck, but it was still suck because my head was still thinking, 2017 when I was on fire. That's what I was thinking. So it was just like, for me, 2019 was a bust. Um, the promotions that used to use me no longer use me. Um, just stuff like that. So for me, it was a bust. And then 2020, it started off good. And then obviously COVID happened, things got shut down. Um, but I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I always say, focus on things you can control. I can't control the world. I can't control what other people think of me. So it's just like I stopped thinking about that. And honestly, I've been good. I've been doing I don't know if you've seen them, but I like to build dioramas and do the toy photography and stuff like that. But I still keep active. So I just recently did a death match with a lifetime tag team partner and one of my good friends' brother, actually, Sin, not too long ago for UGWA. So I still keep active, but not really losing any sleep over it.
Absolutely, man. Anthony, the promoter for Ugwa, he's been on the show too, and so I mean, well, what was that? I mean, it had to feel good, right, to get back in that live atmosphere.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I tell everybody, for me, what I lack in physical, I don't do flips. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't slap my thigh. I don't do 1,000 super kicks and all that stuff. To me, I like to make it look as real as possible because to me, selling in this business is dead. No one sells anymore. You can get power bomb 50 times and you'll pop right back up, and then you're gonna hit that person with another finishers and this and that. So I've always took pride in selling and making it look as real as possible. I don't need that spotlight to every time I wrestle. I don't want, oh man, that move was cool or this and that. I want them to come up to me and be like, that was a good match. They don't remember who wins. They don't remember who loses. They just know they watched a good match. And for me, it's not about wins and losses. Like I don't care. Like I can do a 0-700 streak and it would not bother me. But I joke around with some of these people, you know, because of the Tony Vargas image. So I was like, you know what? That's where Mr. Ego came from. So when I came back, and people were like, oh, you got, previous, they're like, oh, Tony has an ego, Tony this, Tony that. So when I came back, I sat back and I was like, you know what? I'm no longer the machine. I'm now Mr. Ego. You guys are all going to make me money. So and that's where it came out of. And I don't know, man. Just for me, I don't take any of this for granted. I just love pro wrestling, man. Like the entertainment side of it. My goal when I'm a heel, if I can make a kid cry or someone wanting to fight me or this and that, I did my job. If I'm getting beat up and I go in the locker room and everyone there legit thinks I'm hurt, I did my job. If I'm a baby face and the crowd's popping and they're loving and this and that, I don't know. There's no other better feeling, man. Like legit. I love it.
And I think that's truly a lost art in wrestling today. Like, not like people who aren't afraid to get heat. And I mean, I think the best example is like MJF, where the guy, like, he's not afraid. He'll say whatever he has to get people to be like, oh, that guy's a fucking dick.
And what's good about him too, and like you just said, it's a lost art. Because for me, social media killed a lot of it. Let's be honest. But MJF, for example, look at his Twitters, his social medias. He does not break character. Autograph signings, same thing. He is MJF 24/7 when you meet him. And it's great because there's nothing worse than seeing this larger than life villain and this and that. And then you see on their Twitter account, like, oh, just made breakfast. Look at me. Hashtag yummy. You're just like, oh, cool, man. So, but yeah, I mean, you hear the old saying, oh, we'll just get hip with the times. And I get it, but like I said, me growing up of seeing the NWA, AWA, and stuff like that. It's you watch those guys sell. You get hit like you got DDT'd by Jake Roberts, you're done. Nowadays, the DDT is like Shawn Michaels super kick. That you got kicked, sweet chin music, you're not getting up.
That's
Nowadays, guys get hit 1,000 times and no sell, and you're like,
that's what I've
cool,
been saying, man. Like
yeah,
if I was a wrestler, I'm using the DDT, and I'm like, nah, you're not kicking out of this one. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah.
That
I
that's
mean,
that's
that's what's cool. Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but like with Hood Slam, for example, like I've never personally worked there, but I know there's certain moves that are sacred. Like you better not kick out of certain moves because, again, it's a sacred move. Like, and I love that fact that a certain move you can't kick out of because it's sacred. It's old school, and I love it. I love that fact, and um, I don't know. To me, it's crazy.
absolutely, man. But I mean, hope once we get a vaccine out and things start to open up again and the indies start to come back, I really do think it's gonna boom even bigger because you look at the talent that's been through here. Carl Fredericks to Japan, Jeff Cobb to Ring of Honor, Jacob Fatu MLW, Will Hobbs. He
Yeah.
used to wrestle in the APW Garage. Now he's on AEW Dynamite in a main event storyline. So I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
uh, there's a lot of great talent here in the Bay Area that's going to thrive. Once we get back to whatever normal or normalcy is going to be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously it's going to change, even when the world's quote unquote normal. I mean, it's still going to have its guidelines. It's still going to be different. But no, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's so much good talent out here that it's crazy. I mean, even the untouched talent. So, like for me, I was always a big believer of because certain promotions are going to book certain people. They're going to push them into the stars, which is fine as they should, because I mean their talent level speaks for itself. But there's always that one or two guy or girl who's amazing but gets overlooked because Joe Schmo is shining brighter than other, but this person. So it gives other people opportunities. And for me, like the hardest part of this business was you hear the word politics, and I don't think it's politics. I think it's just right place, right time, chummy with who, whatnot. But there's so many good men and women out here that are just crushing it. And I hope when the world opens back up that a lot of people get to see it, and it's just because like for me, it's always, all pro wrestling, big time wrestling, the bigger name promotions, but like an East Bay Pro or an Action Coast Wrestling or, some of the smaller promotions who got really good talent there. But again, they get overlooked because of, the bigger promotions, bigger names and stuff like that. And I don't know, for me, a perfect world would be like, for me, I'm a big time wrestling guy, train there, but if you go somewhere else or this and that, it's not like, oh, why are you working there? Why you just all work together? I mean, end of the day, let's all put on some killer shows and great matches. That's just my big thing. It seems like sometimes people just don't like to work together, and it sucks because, like you said, there's so much talent, so much talent.
Maybe Mr. Ego could control all the egos that are going on
Ah,
going on in wrestling.
I don't know. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see. So as we wind down here, man, got some rapid fire questions for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Favorite wrestler of all time?
Arn Anderson, hands
There,
down.
right there behind me.
Hey,
Met him at Starcast. Great guy.
that is the man.
I mean, in high school, like Bullet Club was hot, and everybody's throwing up the two sweet. Me and my homeboy, hey, we're throwing up the four for the Horseman.
Yeah, dude, all day. That's why, like, one of my moves was the spine buster. Like, obviously, I was trying to perfect it, but it was nowhere near Arn. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have Arn flavor with the Vargas twist.
Hey,
So,
there you go, man. Love it, love it. Favorite match you've ever had?
oh, I think I've had. I don't know. That's a good one. I like my first match with Chris Masters. That was a good match, and then I would actually. I know a lot of people will say different, but I have enjoyed my, I guess, death match with Sin. That was like 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I loved it. It was fun.
There you go, man. Favorite match of all time?
Like for me, or just in general.
Just in general, like watching, like what's a match that you think is an absolute masterclass?
Oh, I mean, so many good ones. I don't know, man. I can't answer that one truthfully. I got so many good ones, but I mean, obviously, Stone Cold and The Rock was at WrestleMania 15 was great. Um, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, that was good. Bret Hart Bulldog and at SummerSlam, that was. I mean, there's so many good matches. I can't just pick one, man. There's so many good ones.
I think you're the first person I've ever talked to that's actually said that.
What? Can't pick one?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I love pro wrestling so much that sometimes as simple as matches, like, oh my god, that was like the greatest thing to me. So yeah, I mean, I have so many, so many, so many, man. I can't just give you one.
Awesome, awesome, dude. Well, favorite tattoo that you have?
Um, I'd say the one on my hand. Um, I don't know if you can see it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I mean, the initials are BAM. It's my brother and sister. So I think that's kind of my favorite one. And then on the side of it, it says, family is forever in Spanish. So not people know that, but I'm Puerto Rican and Mexican. But I think that's my favorite. I mean, yeah, it's more meaningful.
Absolutely, man. 100%, dude. Well, thank you for the time. I really have appreciated this conversation. Where can the people find you?
I'm not a big social media person, but I do have Instagram, and it's Mr. Ego, one word, underscore Tony underscore Vargas, Vargas. So yeah, all I have is Instagram. I'm not a real big social media guy, but you want to follow me, cool. You'll see some cool stuff. Enjoy my journey.
Absolutely, Tony. Well, thank you so much for doing this, man. And hopefully, once everything opens back up, I'll be at a show, you'll be performing, we can chop it up and maybe even do this in person.
Hey, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, there's a new Vargas. I don't know if you've been noticing my hashtags, but allow me to reintroduce myself. Been in this game 10 years. I've been playing by the rules, hasn't been working. So it's a new attitude, new swag, if you would.
There we go. Tony Vargas, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, man.
No worries. You guys take care. Later.